And good morning, Hoosier fans, and welcome to a victorious edition of the Hoosier Morning After. This is Hoosier Morning After Nebraska. Your Hoosiers go on to beat Nebraska last night, 89-64, getting that very coveted, very needed, very breathe deeply for tournament hopes, if there is one. 20th win for the Hoosiers last night. A very interesting game. The last game that fans will get to see the Hoosiers in person, most likely, almost for sure. Maybe the last game, maybe not. We still haven't seen anything as of right now from the Big Ten, whether the Big Ten tournament is going to change anything from not playing with any fans or canceling completely. Currently, right now, things are going to go as they currently stand with no fans, and the tournament will continue on. Not knowing too deep and delving too deep, last night, with all the crazy stuff with Hoiberg, Nebraska's coach, I would have been more on the grounds of, in the mentality that they were probably going to stop playing. There wouldn't be any more tournament. Now, obviously, if you haven't seen, news has come out that he did not have the coronavirus, that he just has the flu. Still, even though that's beside the point with how irresponsible that is as a coach. That's not a thing to do as a coach. If you're not feeling well and you're playing in a game like this that, in all honesty, and I'm sorry to say it I know it's negative to say, but that didn't matter for Nebraska. I know it's on a high note and everything like that, but with currently what's happening and what's going on with illness going around and causing a lot of concern for a lot of people in this country, and you're not feeling well and exhibiting a fever and some of the similar-esque symptoms to what this virus has, and then you continue to put yourself around your players and around all those people, is just a very irresponsible move. Nebraska's coach loses a lot of respect from me, a lot of points. He's got to come out with a big apology for this, because that's just not something you want to do. Anyways, shifting back to the game, very interesting game in the sense that the tempo from the beginning was very fast. Very much favored Nebraska in that sense, not more from a play style of how they wanted to play than obviously a stamina side, because they were playing short, obviously, bringing two football players in just to pad their numbers just in case. But they were playing, if you watched it, you could tell they were playing with nothing to lose. Because they had nothing to lose, and they were playing free, and they were just it allowed them to just glide and move a lot smoother than we were. We were a lot more rigid and methodical about what we were doing, and it allowed them to kind of get going before we could, and then something like that can add pressure to a team, and it did to IU at the beginning. Struggles through the first half, a very scary middle section of the first half, and then holy cow, we get Devontae Green and Armand Franklin to go in there and create and play very well as guards, finding shots themselves, finding open guys, and we go on I think it was 12-1 run to finish the first half, pulling out and getting into the lead by the end of the game, by the end of the half. I mean, it was amazing to see what they were able to do to put us back in it in that second half, or in that first half, going from quite a bit down to up by 9 by half. And the great thing is that we came out and we continued that run and built on it, I believe, bringing the run up to about 24 to nothing, or to 1 or something. And then Nebraska had another little surge. Their big guys started making some points. Their started hitting outside shots. We had 3 times in a row, I believe, where we went down and we settled for outside shots. The chief among them, and cherry on top, was Justin Smith taking a 3 from the corner, something that he's made maybe 3 times this year. And we just settled. We weren't getting it underneath. We weren't doing what we needed to with the ball, and that allowed them to creep back into the game. I mean, second half we get the lead up to 20 at one point, and then they surge back, and let me see if I can find it where we went. 21 was the highest we were up, and suddenly they surged back and got it within 10 with in 2 minutes. They surge on nearly a 10-0 run and get it back within 10, get it close as 9, 10, and then finally we get in there. Al Durham adds a good lift to us, some fast break, good defense. We finally shut down, and we're able to surge back and bring it back up to 20 again, and close out the game, winning by 25. So, good game as you look at it in segments. A game that shouldn't have given them the chances that we did throughout it, but a good win, a win that we needed, a win that we needed to take care of, something that would have been very embarrassing had we not. So good to have us get this, move on. Now we just need to figure out what's going on, obviously, with continued play. Guys just need to be up and ready. Guys need to kind of do their best to block out everything that's going on and keep their mentality about them, ready to play whenever they get that call. Just think that you're getting on the bus and heading to go play it at nearly 9 o'clock tonight. So it's Penn State. We've played them twice. They're a decent team. They've given us troubles a little bit, but it's a decent matchup for us. So I feel pretty good about that game. It's going to be interesting without a crowd. I'm going to love to hear all the audio of all the squeaking shoes and everything. I'm wondering if we'll hear the coaches much, if we will hear the players much, if they'll kind of drown that out. I wish I could turn off the announcers on the telecast and get to just hear the ambiance of the game, hear all the nuances that you can hear. Wonder if cheerleaders will be there. I know there's going to be some family members, so there'll be immediate families allowed to be there. So you will have some fan cheering in that sense. But it's just support staff and all that. So I don't know if cheerleaders are included within that. It'd be very interesting if cheerleaders are included into that. I don't feel like they should be if we're trying to limit people as much as possible. And I can say that my wife was a cheerleader. Nothing against cheerleaders, but cheerleaders are to bridge the gap and get the crowd excited and create that atmosphere and get the crowds cheering and helping along with the players and the atmosphere that's going on. And if you don't have the crowd, why have the cheerleaders? What cheer are they leading in that sense, to be literal? So we'll see. We'll see what comes from the day. Again, as I'm recording this, So if you're listening to this later on, but as I am recording to this, the games are still going on. It's still been nothing. I'm sure there's probably meetings and talks and all kinds of stuff going on right now, them deciding what they're going to do with this. I personally like the step that they've done by removing the crowds. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on what's going on with this virus. There's so little information, but yet there's so much information out there. It's weird. It's a weird conundrum to say that. There's so little information that we're still figuring out about the disease. And then there's so much information in the sense that there's so much misinformation out there. It's tough to weed through all the different things that are being said. And so I'm not going to be one that's going to say, I know what's best, or I have listened to or heard or seen something that I can 100% believe more than this or that. It's scary to a degree of how polarizing it is become. And I think that's part of how society has been bred nowadays, is that things get very polarized on one side and another. And it's tough to then try to be a fact finder in those sense. And I know the one thing that I can say with strength and everything and conviction is that when you have a sickness like this, something that's contagious like this, is that you have to limit crowds and exposures to large groups and people being together in masses. And that's what they're doing, taking the crowds away. So to me, that's a good step right now for what I know and what I can share. And where they move beyond that is up to them and the information that they get and what they decide to do with that. So, yeah, that's all I'll say about that. That's how I feel and where I stand at the moment with it. Again, more information could come out. We'll just kind of stick to Twitter and we'll see what's going on. Follow me. I'll share anything that happens as it goes along at General Chadwick. You can find me on Twitter. I'll share anything that pops up in case you missed it or whatever. But yeah, that's all I'm going to say. Let's move on, talk about this game. Again, great to see balanced play for the most part. Very balanced scoring. Everyone that got in, minus Cooper Bybee and Nate Childress there at the end, were able to score. Smallest score otherwise was Jerome Hunter with 3. That one 3-pointer he made. Oh, no, wait. Yeah. He should have 4, I think, actually, or 5. The stat sheet's wrong. Anyways, but yeah, good balanced scoring. Our leading scorer of the game was Armand Franklin. Great to see his aggressiveness, his edge to get to the basket at times. He still has those freshman woes occasionally that he will get somewhere that he shouldn't be and has trouble passing out of it, or goes up a little awkward with the ball. But I like his movement. He gets good passes inside, and then he's there ready to receive the ball and look up for a 3. He was 3 for 5 from 3, so pretty good shooting from him. He's definitely MVP of the game. Rob, again, echoes one of his better scoring lines that he's had in the sense of assists and turnover ratio. He had 7 assists to 1 turnover. The amazing stat, too, speaking of assists for this game, is IU had 23 assists. That might be the most of the year. You may find that in some of the earlier non-conference games might have been higher than that, but that feels like the highest assist total we've had for the year. With 10 turnovers, and I believe 6 of those turnovers happened within the first 10 minutes of the game. So took care of the ball after that. Just good controlled rebounds, 47 to 38. It was a little lower in the first half, a little more even, but we took care of that in the second half. A lot of good guard rebounds, guards getting in there and getting rebounds. Shooting percentages looked pretty good overall. Free throws, not the greatest of those. 58%, made 10 of 17. Some of those were missed front ends of 1-and-1s. But to finish 53 shooting from 3 is pretty good for this team. Or from field goal, I should say. And 9 for 22, 40.9%. I will take that. I'll take 40% each and every night out of this team. Again, some of those, and it'd be even higher if we didn't take some of those ill-advised ones. There were 3 threes right there in that one segment in the second half that were pretty ill-advised, and was at a time point when Indiana started to relax. We started to play closer to their game, what they wanted to play, and weren't getting it inside, weren't working the ball, and that caused us to just throw it up there, and that was not good. Another shout out, obviously, to Duran and his mid-range game, knocking down a 17-footer. I believe actually got 2 of them. Steps into him beautifully. That's cool to see. I don't mind him taking those. Grace Thompson, would have liked maybe him to look at the basket a little bit more in this game. He took 3 shots, only made 1 of them, made 2 free throws. Most of his attempts, I believe, came off of putbacks and being in there for the rebounds. But not his greatest game. He did have some good off-stat sheet plays and did play pretty well in there with Duran. That was kind of an interesting lineup that we haven't seen very often, was Race and Duran in together. But the person with the biggest plus-minus of the game was Armand Franklin. Again, Race had the smallest one at 3, so that kind of shows again the eye test. Rob Fennessy with 4, but I don't know. I think Rob got to sit quite a bit. He had probably one of the lower lower minutes that he's had. Just resting him. He also got in a little bit of foul trouble at the beginning, so that also caused him to sit more than he normally would, but he finished with only 13 minutes. Something that you'd see him play a lot more in other games. But in games like this where it doesn't matter as much, where games are back to back to back to back, you got to worry about health of the guys as well. I contribute that to be a factor as well for how Trace Jackson Davis played. I think he could have racked up points a lot more than he did. He finished with 11, but I think he was playing a little conservatively in the game. He's been hobbled a little bit, had that ankle issue. He doesn't you don't visually see like it's hurting him, but you can tell he's just a little step off. Guys also, I believe, got away from getting it to him. I don't know if that's just lack of him getting into the right position for them, or not finding a good passing lane to get it to him. But it could have been usage rate, especially for him when we were in those kind of troubled areas of the game, were down considerably. We could have used him a lot more in those situations, and that's kind of really been the story of this year. When they struggle, when we go on these little scoring droughts, or the other team goes on little runs, we get away from getting it into the paint. Now, Nebraska game planned for that a little bit and really kind of chucked it in there, really packed it in there with guys doing that kind of little bit of pack-in zone, I guess you could say, or whatever you want to call that, and dared IU to shoot it outside. And again, we took that bait a little bit more than we should have. But overall, good play by the guys to weather that for the most part, and then turn it back on and finish the game, and finish the game strong and in a higher point total than we've seen for a long time. It's been a long time since we've seen Indiana get almost 90 points. We've been stuck in the 60s and 70s for quite a while. So to see that 90 almost get up there is great. Points off turnovers, IU 14 to Nebraska's 9. Points in the paint, obviously, always be our forte, and we should always win that. And we did, 40 to 24. Second chance points, good on those offensive rebounds and putbacks, 10 to 7. Fast break points, 22 to 16. And bench points, very good. Again, sharing the ball the way, very balanced scoring from the team this year, or last night, was 38 to 23. So, yeah, good win. Guys play tonight. Right now, could be very dated podcast and information before too long. But again, still looking good. Looking like we'll play. Hopefully get more good play out of Armand. Love seeing that. He likes to light up the stage when he's there in Banker's Life. Evidently that's a good arena for him. So want to see that good hustle he had. Kid doesn't get down on himself. Again, that great play by him overall. Specifically, actually, even thinking about, I wanted to mention he had that one missed three, and then he sprinted back on that transition and drew the charge. So that kid doesn't have quit. That's great. It's great to see that aggressiveness. Great to see that. Moving on and what that kind of adds to the culture of everything. So really excited to see that moving on. Looking through to see. Yep, don't see anything currently on Twitter. But yeah, so we'll see what happens. I'll keep my eye out there. I'll share anything that I see as we go along. Yeah, just stay safe out there, guys. Use your heads. Wash your hands. Use those little wipes at the grocery store. Just take care of yourself. The biggest thing you can do is get yourself healthy, because if you do get it, best thing to beat this and everything is to be a person in good health. So eat well, get sleep, take care of yourself. That's one of the best things you can do. So that's it for now, guys. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, all of that stuff. Go out there, have a good day, be a good Hoosier. Thanks for watching.